Hi Year 7, this is our third lesson for fractions. In this lesson we're going to look at multiplying and dividing fractions. So far we've learnt about fraction notation, like numerator and denominator, equivalent fractions, including simplifying fractions, the different types of fractions, like improper fractions and mixed numerals. And we've learnt how to compare fractions and how to order them. When we multiply fractions, we multiply across the top and we multiply across the bottom, like this. So 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, let's return to Abby and chocolate fractions and see what she knows about this. Now we're going to go to eighths. Okay.
Yay!
How are we going to do that?
Like that.
Okay, if you go, split them. Oh, come on, muscles.
Yay! I got it!
Alright, so we've got nice little eighths now, little eighth guys. Alright, show me a half.
A half.
Mm-hmm.
Or that. 4 eighths together.
Yep.
These ones is the other half.
Yeah, so we'll take them way over there. Right, so that's a half. Okay, I want you to tell me what a half of a half is. Now, you know in maths, this symbol, when we have that times, yeah, we say of. Of means times. Do you know that one? Okay, so we want to do, what is a half of a half?
A quarter.
How do you know?
Because if you half the half, it's a quarter.
Very good. Very good. So a half of a half is a quarter. Very well done. So let's look at that question again. A half times a half is a quarter. So we learnt that we multiply across the top and we multiply across the bottom. But if we use the word of instead of times, it's quite logical that a half of a half is a quarter. So here's our rule again. When we're multiplying fractions, we multiply across the top and we multiply across the bottom. Here's some examples. Evaluate a half times 3/5. All right, we could do a half of 3/5 and do it in our heads. Let's use the method instead. 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 5 is 10. Easy peasy, there's our answer, 3/10. Now sometimes we need to simplify. Have a look at this one. We're going to go 1 times 3 is 3, 3 times 10 is 30. Now can you see a common factor there? 3 goes into 3 and also goes into 30, so I need to cancel that down. 3 into 3 goes once, 3 into 30 goes 10 times. Our answer is 1/10. Now I'm going to show you a shortcut for this on the next slide. Sometimes we need to multiply by an integer, which is a whole number. Now with these sorts of questions, we can use the word of, or we can use the method. Let's try the word of. 1/3 of 9. That's easy, isn't it? 1/3 of 9 is 3. How about this question? 2/5 of 20. You might be able to do that one. 1/5 of 20 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. Let's have a look at how we might use the method with this. So our big problem here is the 20. We need to turn that to a fraction. And 20 as a fraction is 20 over 1. We could multiply across the top. That's 40. Multiply across the bottom. But with multiplication, you can cancel any top with any bottom. So quite often, it's better if you cancel first before doing the multiplication. 5 into 5 goes once. 5 into 20 goes 4 times. Our answer is 8 over 1, which is 8. One more. 5 times 2/7. Let's use our method. 5 is 5 over 1. And we're going to do 5 times 2 is 10. And then once times 7 is 7. Okay, let's try a harder question. This one's got a mixed numeral in it, so we really need to use our method, but we have to change to improper fractions first. The half we don't need to change, it's already a proper fraction, but this one we need to change to improper. Do you remember how to do it? We go around the world. 5 ones are 5 plus 4 is 9, so it's 9 over 5. Now we multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom. 1 times 9 is 9, 2 times 5 is 10. There's our answer. Here's another example. 1 2/3 times 2 1/4. We've got to change both of the fractions into improper this time. So let's do that first. 3 ones are 3, plus 2 is 5. 5 thirds. 4 twos are 8, plus 1 is 9. 9 quarters. Okay, now let's look for anything we can cancel. This 3 cancels into the 9. Can you see that? So 3 into 3 goes once, and 3 into 9 goes 3 times. Now let's multiply. 5 times 3 is 15. 1 times 4 is 4. We can leave our answer like that, but we tend to leave it in the same form that the question's in, and these are in mixed numerals. So let's do that extra step. 4 into 15 goes 3 times, remainder 3. So the answer is 3 3/4. Let's move on to dividing fractions. When we're dividing fractions, we multiply by the reciprocal. So here's a new word for you. A reciprocal is a fraction turned upside down. So for example, the reciprocal of 3/4 is 4 thirds. So let's have a look at how we might do this. Here's a question, a half divided by 3/5. So we want to multiply by the reciprocal. So this is what we do. We keep the first fraction, we change the sign, and we flip the last one. And that's what you've got to remember. That's what I've written here. Keep, change, flip. Now we're back to a multiplication. Multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom, and we get 5/6. So here's the method. Keep, change, flip. Let's have a look at why that works. What is 1 divided by a quarter? Now think about what that question means. It means how many quarters go into 1. That's what division means. Have a look at this picture. What's the answer? It's 4, isn't it? There are 4 quarters in 1 whole. Now let's have a look at our method and see why it works. We're going to keep the first one, change the sign, flip the last one. Have a look here. This is 1 over 1, remember? But it's just one lot of 4 over 1, which is 4. Let's try an example. Calculate 2 thirds divided by 1/4. Alright, so we're going to keep the first fraction, change the sign, flip the second fraction. Now we're back to a multiplication. Let's multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom. We get 8 over 3. You can leave your answer like that, or we can change it to a mixed numeral. It's up to you. Let's change it. 3 into 8 goes twice, remainder 2. Answer, 2 2/3. Here's another question. 2/9 divided by 2/3. Keep the first fraction, change the sign, flip the second fraction. 2/9 times 3/2. Look at what we can cancel there. The 3 goes into the 9 3 times. But we can also cancel these 2's. 2 into 2 goes once, and 2 into 2 goes once. Right, let's do 1 times 1 is 1, and then 3 times 1 is 3. There's our answer. Okay, let's finish off with some harder questions. 3½ divided by 1 2/3. Do you remember the rule? We've got to change to improper fractions first, just like we did with multiplication. So 2 3s are 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 over 2 divided by 3 1s are 3 plus 2, 5 over 3. Now don't do the keep, change, flip thing at the same time. Okay, be systematic and go step by step. Now we're going to keep the first, change the sign, flip the second. Any common factors? No. Straight across the top gives us 21, and across the bottom gives us 10. And let's change that into a mixed numeral. 10 into 21 goes twice, remainder 1. 2 1/10. There's our answer. Last question. 2 1/3 divided by 1 2/5. So again, we need to turn this into improper. So let's do it. Go around the world. 3 2s are 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 over 3. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 over 5. So let's rewrite it. Now let's do keep, change, flip. Keep the first one, change the sign, flip the second one. So 7 over 2 times 5 over 7. Does anything cancel? Yes, the 7's cancel. 7 into 7 goes once, 7 into 7 goes once, All right, let's go straight across the top. 1 times 5 is 5. 2 times 1 is 2. So there's our answer in improper fraction form. Let's turn it back to mixed numeral. 2 into 5 goes twice, remainder 1. Our answer is 2.5. Okay, that's it for this lesson. In our next lesson, we're going to move on to adding and subtracting fractions.